Shri Jnaneshwari, Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Shri Saraswatyai Namaha, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Gopal Krishnaya Namaha. Chapter 5, Sannyas Yoga continued. Shloka number 11. With the body, mind and intellect, and with the senses alone, yogis perform actions without attachment for the purification of the mind. That action which is not based on reasoning or which is devoid of thought is called physical action. I shall explain this in simple words. Like a child, the yogi performs actions by means of body only. But when the body, fashioned from the five elements, goes to sleep, then his mind remains alone in the dream world. The most surprising fact, O Partha, is that this way of desires gives a person pleasure and pain without the knowledge of the body. This action, which ensues without the senses being aware of it, is said to be a simply mental action. The yogis too perform such actions, but they are not bound by them, as they are free from egoistic feeling. When a person becomes imbecile or is possessed by a spirit, then his sense activities become disorganized. He sees, hears, and speaks, but his mind does not register what he does. Whatever is done is without purpose. Know that action to be of the senses. And whatever is done with full knowledge, know that it is the action of the intellect. Those who take recourse to intellect and perform actions with wisdom, they become free from the bondage of action. Those who perform actions ranging between the intellectual and the physical without the egoistic feeling remain pure even while they work. My friend, the action that is done without the notion of agency is non action. This truth is known from the instruction of the teacher. Now I have told you what transcends speech, so much so that the serene sentiment is spilling from my overfull mind. He alone is competent to hear this, whose senses have lost the craving for objects. Then Lord Krishna said to Partha, I shall tell you the characteristics of one who has attained yoga. Listen. 12. The yogi, by renouncing the fruits of actions, finds the highest peace. The uncontrolled person becomes attached to the fruit of action through the pull of desire and gets bound. Peace visits him who loathes the fruit of action and has attained to the knowledge of the self. O Arjun, the other, that is a worldly person, becomes tied to the peg of enjoyment of the fruit of action by the knot of desire and gets bound. 13. Mentally renouncing all actions, the self-possessed person rests serenely in the body, that is the city of 9 gates, neither acting himself nor causing others to act. He performs actions as others who have the motive of reward, but remains indifferent to it with the notion that he is not its agent. He creates happiness wherever he casts his glance, and wisdom dwells wherever he wants it to dwell. Even though he remains in the body of the 9 gates, he is not really there, and though he works, he does nothing as he has relinquished desire. 14. The Lord creates for the people neither agency nor action, nor the union of action and its fruit, but it is the nature that acts. If you reflect upon God, he is seen to be inactive, but he seems to have created this panorama of the universe. If you call him the agent, he is not touched by action, and since he is indifferent to it, his hands and feet remain unaffected, nor is his yogic sleep or actionlessness affected. Even then, he raises the group of gross elements. He dwells in all creatures, but he does not belong to them, and he is not conscious whether the universe has come into being or ceased. 15. The Lord does not take on himself anybody's sin or merit. Wisdom is obscured by ignorance, whereby creatures get deluded. He is not conscious of merit or sin, though they are close to him. He does not witness them, leave alone other things. The Lord incarnates himself and sports with his body, but his formless nature is not affected thereby. When people say that he creates, supports, and destroys the moving and non moving things, this is only due to ignorance, O Arjun. 16. But to those whose ignorance of the self is destroyed by wisdom, this wisdom, shining like the sun, reveals the Supreme. With the destruction of ignorance, the darkness of ignorance clears away, and then the inactive nature of the Lord becomes manifest. If one is convinced that the Lord is inactive, then it is established that I am He from the beginning. When this discrimination dawns on his mind, how can he then see distinctions in this world? From his own experience, he knows that the world too is free from them. Just as when the sun rises in the east, it lights that region and makes the other quarters too free from darkness. 17. With their mind and intellect directed to him, founded in him, and devoted to him, they go to the abode from which there is no return, for they have cleansed their sins by wisdom. When they become convinced about the knowledge of the self, regarding themselves as of the very nature of Brahman, and remain dedicated to it day and night, then the all pervasive wisdom comes seeking them. What more can I say about their equable nature? What is surprising if we say that they see the world like themselves? Just as good fortune does not suffer impoverishment, nor does discriminating knowledge recognize delusion, nor does the sun discern the nature of darkness even in a dream, nor does nectar hear about the story of death, nor does the moon become conscious of heat. So these wise men do not see distinction among beings. 18. On a Brahmin endowed with learning and humility, on a cow, and on an elephant, a dog, and an outcast, the wise look on equally. Then how will they have the notion that this is an elephant, or an outcast, or a Brahmin, mine, or another's son, a cow, or a dog, and great or small? How can one awake see a dream? One would see distinction as long as egoism lasts. When it has already ceased, how can the notion of distinction survive? 19. On this very earth, rebirth is conquered by them whose mind rests on equality. For Brahman is flawless and the same to all, and so they remain established in Brahman. He who sees equality in all things has already become non dual Brahman. Know that this is the secret of equanimity. Without relinquishing the sense objects and tormenting the senses, he experiences non attachment without desire. With the support of ordinary people, he remains engaged in public affairs, but casting away ignorance of the ordinary men. Just as a ghost remains amongst people without even being seen, he is not recognized by the world, although he dwells in the body. Just as when water is kissed by the wind, it dances on water and gets a different name, namely a wave. So he bears a name and a form, but he has truly become Brahman, inasmuch as his mind has attained equanimity towards all. The Lord said, O Arjun, I shall tell you in brief the characteristics possessed by a person with equable mind. 20. He neither exults on getting what is pleasant, nor frets on getting what is unpleasant. Firm of understanding and without delusion, the knower of Brahman abides in Brahman. Just as a mountain is not carried away by a flood of mirage, he is not moved by good or bad happenings. He has truly known the essence of equanimity. He has become one with the Brahman. So said Sri Hari to Partha. With this we complete part 2 of chapter 5. Om Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Hari Om.